Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the $1 Billion Movie Club. Today, as always, I am your host, Christian Simpson, with my co-host.
Pawan Mehta.
Hello, Pawan. Hello. How are you today?
I'm all right.
You're doing all right? You're doing all right?
Yeah, we're just chilling. We're vibing.
We're chilling, we're vibing, we're finding our way through life as we discuss a film this week, Pawan. What film are we doing this
Uh,
week?
let me, uh, I know we're talking about something related to Alice in Wonderland.
Is it Alice Ripley, Tony Award winner for the musical Next to Normal?
I don't think it's that. Is it the video game by American McGee?
I'm excited you mentioned that. No, today's episode we will be discussing Tim Burton's 2010 Disney live-action remake, Alice in Wonderland.
So we're not talking about Alice in Chains,
It may pop up in conversation. Let's see where we go with this.
because I thought that was weird that we'd be talking about an entire band's discography for an episode about that takes place in a film podcast.
Well, you know,
Found that a little weird.
we usually spend half the podcast discussing video games, so I'm sure it's okay to switch to music one of these days. So, Tim Burton's 2010 Alice in Wonderland. For the uninitiated, the film was released on March 5th, 2010. The budget is somewhere between the 150 $210 million range. Couldn't find the official source.
Big numbers.
Its opening weekend domestic gross of $116.1 million, a worldwide weekend gross of $220.1 million. At the
That
time,
seems kind of soft for
well,
an opening weekend.
at the time, it was the highest grossing weekend for a movie not outside of the summer/holiday weekend. The highest grossing
Right.
domestic opening for a non-sequel. It just from 3D. They really stretch some of these definitions. Its 3D opening was $81.3 million, which was the largest 3D opening at that time. It spent 3 straight weeks at number 1. Notice a lot of the times I said at the time.
Yes.
And we can break into that later on. A press release from Walt Disney, May 27th, 2010. Disney's Alice in Wonderland reaches exclusive $1 billion global box office club. Tim Burton's epic fantasy adventure, Disney's Alice in Wonderland, reached a historic milestone today, passing the $1 billion mark in global box office. Alice becomes only the 6th title to join this exclusive list and the 3rd most popular non-sequel in motion picture history, behind only Titanic and Avatar. Again, non-sequel in quotations, parenthesis, whatever you want to say. Alice began setting records during its opening weekend, become the biggest March opening in industry history, the largest 3D opening weekend ever, biggest career opening for director Tim Burton, and it was Walt Disney Studios' biggest opening for a non-sequel. I'd like to note, $33 million of its total gross came from China. So far, the 3rd best Chinese gross of the films we've discussed so far.
Mm-hmm.
It ended its domestic run with $334 million, a worldwide total of $1.025 billion, and at the time was the 19th highest grossing domestic film, but 5th highest grossing worldwide. Currently sits at number 65 domestic and 43rd worldwide. Pawan, what is your history with? There's many avenues you can go with this one.
Yeah.
What's your history with this film, the Alice in the Wonderland Disney property in general, live action Disney remakes in general, etc.?
I think this is the first big live action remake, isn't it?
Of this modern era, yes, I think you could mention like the Glenn Close 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
I think
But
there was
that's
yeah,
outside of
this
this
very much
sort
set
of
the precedent.
and what a precedent it set.
Have you seen this movie before?
I saw it in theaters when it came out.
3D, 2D.
Pretty sure it was 3D.
Mm.
I remember enjoying it at the time, which is also something we could get into a little bit later. But do you have a history with these actors?
So main actress Mia Wasikowski? Question mark?
Kauska.
Koska? I apologize, Mia. I You'll see the bloopers after this. I tried like 80 minutes of trying to learn your name. Um, she's I haven't seen anything with her.
I really enjoyed her in Treatment.
Yes, I know you're a big
She
fan
was
of
in
In
the
Treatment.
first season of that.
You're a big fan of that show. The HBO. It's not a miniseries, but is it an
It definitely was not a miniseries. The
is it
first
an
season itself.
anthology series?
Yes and no.
Okay.
In the sense that like so how that show worked is that for each season there was a set number of patients and like each day of the week was a different patient. So you'd have like 5 episodes per week and it would be all 5 of the patients. And then week 2 would happen and then you'd meet with them again and it would continue their stories. But
Interesting.
like at the end of each week is the episode where the therapist that you've been watching this entire season goes to his own therapist.
Oh, interesting. So
So
you have more experience with Mia than I do.
yeah, so the thing with In Treatment is it's a show that's basically a dramatization of these therapy sessions. So it's very much stripped down to like just 2 characters in a room, usually just talking it out. So it's very much based on the acting, shot composition a little bit. It's a lot more actor based than technical based.
That's always fun.
And she did a very great job in that one.
Interesting.
I very much enjoyed her role in that.
The other major actors I'd say are Johnny Depp, who we kind of covered in the Pirates episode.
Which we're going to talk about him more in depth.
Oh, you took his name, added a little, like you had a lisp, and added new meaning to it. I don't know how I feel about that statement I just said.
I mean, it's a great explanation of what I did.
This is, I believe, the first time we're seeing Helena Bonham Carter and Anne Hathaway in this.
Is Anne are they in their movies?
Yeah. So we'll see Hathaway later in Dark Knight Rises. And
oh yeah,
Bonham Carter is in Harry Potter.
Right.
Who also Alan Rickman does a voice in this film. Those are actors who filmographies I've never gone deep into, but I always enjoy seeing whenever they're on screen.
It seems like Harry Potter seems to be looming a large shadow over this podcast so far.
Is it? Other than
we keep bringing it up.
I do like those movies very much. So is it problematic to like them now? Yes. Am I reckoning with those feelings within myself? Yes.
Moving on.
I've never seen this film before, and in preparation for this week, I watched the original as well. I don't think I've ever seen that before either.
Really?
No. So my mom always said I watched a lot of the Disney animated films when I was growing up,
but you don't remember them.
I don't remember them. And maybe like the Renaissance films, I'll remember the music, but I totally didn't realize the original Alice was a musical until I watched it. My only experience with Alice was from the hit video game Kingdom Hearts, where it was the first Disney World you visited.
Honestly, I loved the whenever you went to Wonderland in those games.
It's very fun world.
Because you know what, we'll get to that in a bit.
Okay. And I feel like I've seen maybe half of the live action Disney remakes.
I have seen, I'm pretty sure, just this one.
Just this
and
one?
The Jungle Book on a Plane.
Okay. And I don't want to dig too deep into that because we're going to talk about so many of them later on.
Yeah.
Whether we like to or not. Tim Burton, I've seen a couple of his films. I think I've seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory way back when and his original Batman, but that's probably it.
See, when I was growing up, everyone was talking like, yo, Tim Burton's the best. He's amazing. He's a great stylist. He's this, and that. And then like the one movie I saw of his actually growing up was Nightmare Before Christmas, which he didn't actually direct.
I was going to say.
But like everyone keeps saying that's a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah.
Which, if anything, it follows his style, but it has more substance than his movies do.
As someone who's seen Nightmare Before Christmas once and fell asleep during it, um, I don't know if I agree with that statement.
Because like I remember in my like early to mid teens, I went back and watched more of his films. Like, so I like the aesthetics in Corpse Bride, but it just feels like a weaker version of Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
I saw Mars Attacks. No, don't.
Is that
don't.
him?
It was.
I'll be honest, not even sure what that movie is about.
Don't bother with that one.
Okay, if you say so.
And that's about that's my experience with him. But from my understanding, so movies like Beetlejuice, from my understanding, have more of a reputation and memory, more so to do with the wider franchise around it that like helped keep it up in terms of like the TV show, the animated show, and all that, more so than the original movie itself. But yeah, that's my experience with Burton.
Hmm.
And this movie, of course, I saw that when I was like 12.
12, 12, 12, 12. This is me trying to figure out what's the next step of this podcast. I believe the next step.
Let's talk about this movie.
Talk about this movie. Pawan, what happens in this film?
So Alice, she's supposed to be betrothed to this rather foppish man.
Foppish. Great
Yes.
vocabulary word.
And she's like, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. And then she just fucks off into a hole after following a rabbit.
Yeah.
And then she follows the destiny, which leads her to kill a dragon.
Okay. We're going to discuss that.
That's what I'm going to say.
We're going to discuss that in a second. What is your initial thoughts after this rewatch of the film?
One, I understand why I liked it at the time. And two, this felt longer than Avatar.
Interesting. Now, may I rewind 1 second? Because I remember a memory I had about this movie from my past. And then we'll get back to this. So, probably late 2010, maybe early 2011. I'm in the back of my uncle and aunt's car.
Okay.
They had one of those vans that, you know, the screen used to come down and you could play a DVD in the car. And so they played Alice in Wonderland because their kids were there, and me and my cousins, whatever. And I remember the beginning and me not wanting to pay attention. And that's it. Back to our feelings about this movie. So you said that you liked it way back when.
Yes.
This time it felt longer than Avatar.
Yes. And I know why I liked it back then. See, this movie falls into a bit of a middle ground that's just not fun going back to watch it as an adult. So the joy of going back to children's stuff as an adult is to experience that whimsy and that like unbridled imagination. Whereas with this movie, it tried to be dark, but tried to be still kid friendly. So it doesn't have the depth that you'd want from something that's trying to delve into darker material as an adult. But as a kid, it's like, whoa, this is interesting. This is deep. But like, it's not there as an adult.
I agree with those sentiments. This is the first film we are discussing where I did not like, straight up did not like it. I was shocked that it wasn't a straight adaptation of the animated film in the way that the later Disney remakes are.
Well, at first it wasn't though, because like it was after this. It was Maleficent, which was more like a prequel.
Yeah, which I just that just didn't occur to me about this movie, having never seen it. And
this one, it's not really on the tin, like it doesn't say it outright at any point, but this is script-wise, it feels like it was written as a sequel to
Yeah,
the original
it
movie.
totally feels like a sequel because later on they're like, "Oh, all those events in the animated movie happened to me."
Yeah.
Um, and I was shocked that it was a dark, gritty approach to this fun, whimsical, flashy, celebratory, colorful film. It
Yeah, it
seemed,
feels like it's literally just taking all the great aspects of the original and just being like that no longer exists because we're going for a gritty route.
yeah. I thought it was if you took Alice in Wonderland and tried to make it Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Very, very much so, especially with all the action, which I would never put within Alice in Wonderland franchise.
I don't know if there was that much, but like it
You
feels
have
like it was building up to it a lot more.
yes. Well, you have the chase with that weird cat thing in the beginning, and then you have the grand battle, which was not grand at all.
Honestly, this feels like script-wise the prototype for the types of movies we're going to see from here on out in terms of the big budget action movies.
May I bring up one factor about the writer of this film?
Mm-hmm.
So this film was written by Linda Wolverton. Does that name ring a bell?
No, it does not.
So she was the first woman to have written on an animated Disney film. She helped write Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin, etc. She did the Broadway adaptation of Beauty and the Beast, the book for that, and she wrote the live action Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass, and the Two Maleficents. With Alice in Wonderland, it is the only film to cross the $1 billion mark to have one sole female writer, which is an interesting little tidbit, which I'm kind of sad that 10 years since, no other film has joined that distinction. Hollywood, 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 we're looking at you. But yeah, I was not. One of my big issues with this film was Mia. And
it really feels like she was miscast.
Yes. So we discussed last week with Avatar how, and I'm blanking on the main dude's name.
Jake Sully.
The actor's name, though.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Wow. Wow. This is Sam Worthington. There we go.
There you go.
And this is exactly what I'm going with. We were discussing how he was kind of a blank canvas, as if that was meant to be the audience's lens into the world. This film, she's sort of that as you enter, but there's no charm to her. And she's very
the way I
soft.
think it went is that they saw her performance in Jane Eyre because she was in a version of Jane Eyre before this, and it was like, yeah, we want a performance like that for our movie, but they forgot the fact that Jane Eyre is very much a grounded, realistic story, whereas this one, you can't give the same type of performance.
But I don't think,
because with this one, it really felt like she was going for that British sort of aristocratic,
but you could do that and have some personality to it. I think Keira Knightley does that in the Pirates movies.
Yeah, but the thing is, it felt like she was going for a more nuanced thing with this, but the script just wasn't there for it.
I found it to be very wooden from her.
Yeah, but in terms of she was going for that more where the script would have had more stuff to work with, but this movie just doesn't have that.
But just on a performance level,
at the end of the day, yeah, it comes down to a one performance. But I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. Can you let me do that?
Well, she has this breathiness to her and a softness that, first off, I'm like, okay, she's supposed to gain confidence as the story moves along. Okay, I can believe that at first, but she doesn't seem any different from the end from the first. It doesn't feel like there is an arc. Intellectually, I understand there is the arc for the character. I didn't get that from the performance. and that kind of
I
bumping
mean,
out.
was there an arc for the character?
She gains confidence and makes choices by the end,
I
rather than
mean,
being
she
hesitant.
does that at the beginning too, though.
This is also, I found this to be in line with so many of the other movies that we've seen so far, and I didn't realize this was going to be such a common theme. The the woman who doesn't like the role of women and wants to break free of that.
Well, because it's such an easy thing to get like free feminism points.
Yes. I just, and it's good to
What
have.
you're telling me they shouldn't go after free feminism points?
No, I think it's a good message to have, especially because this is the first kid friendly one we've seen. So a younger girl could see this and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna start being my own person."
I mean,
It's
Pirates
just
is kid friendly.
sure, but she's not the focus in that movie.
Hmm.
I'd say she's third build in that movie.
I mean, she's second build in this one.
Yeah, which is another. So neither of us loved her performance in this film.
No.
Um,
Another thing I do want to talk about is how Alice in Wonderland works as a story.
okay.
So it's very bare bones when you like look at the actual bullet points of how the story goes. It's basically this girl falls into down a rabbit hole, like down a literal rabbit hole. In fact, I think that's where that metaphor might come from, but like outside of that,
May I ask you a question? Are you referring to the original
yes.
51 Disney film or Lewis Carroll's books?
So I haven't read the book, but I'm assuming that uh the movie was semi faithful, and I'm like taking the base elements from that movie. Where basically this girl falls down a rabbit hole and she just explores this other world where other people are literally directing her where to go from there on. It's a great thing to build off of if you have like themes or like other elements that you want to tell, but like you need a vehicle to do it, because it's a great way to show a world. And in a sense that this that's why it's great in Kingdom Hearts as well, because like it allows it to be what as crazy as possible. But in terms of this, it feels like they went for the laziest version of that.
Lazy how so?
It's like it they're showing a decaying world.
But that's partly because of it being a time jump. And
But
then
like it's also
so
it falls into like the grim dark trap for me.
yes. Here's my thing with the original, the animated one, right? Because it's a lot of fun. I have no clue what the heck happens in that movie. There's not really a plot going on. No,
But like that's the basic Alice in Wonderland story. Like I've read back in high school, we were looking at a script for this, and we were thinking about doing it for the drama class. But like I was reading through it and I'm like, this is literally just Alice walks up to this fantastic creature, they do their thing, and then they're like, go over there.
You're talking about the animated one, right?
No, I'm talking about the play script for Alice in Wonderland.
Well, that's different because it's different writers adapting it differently.
No, but I mean like that is the bare bones story.
Sure.
And that is also there in that movie.
But again, this one, Tim Burton's one, wanted to ground it.
So the thing is,
I saw a quote of I was reading about the movie. Tim Burton was like, "Yeah, I've never connected with any of the Alice in Wonderland movie stuff emotionally, so I wanted to try to add some sort of emotion." Which I don't know if either of us thinks he did it. I don't know.
so there's also a lot of experimental versions of Alice in Wonderland that can give you nightmares.
Okay. I don't think
Which
he wasn't gonna try to give you nightmares.
let me in terms of like presenting a more grounded or like a different take on it, where instead of having it be fanciful and fun, it does present that darker energy, but it's still creative about it.
But I don't think this was going. it feels darker. I don't think it was going for darker. I think it was going for mature, which I think there is very much a difference. Because she is adult. The movie
Okay,
the movie
see, the
starts
thing
off.
is,
The movie starts off, and I'm like, she feels like a girl still, and they're like, no, she's 20.
yeah,
They aged it up because they don't want an 8-year-old headlining this giant blockbuster when it's unproven, and I don't know. It's you're able to have deeper relationships. I think as an older character.
I don't know if that's inherently true
Yeah, as I said that, I wanted to cut that out.
because children definitely
Yeah,
feel
no.
deeply at like the slightest drop of anything.
Thank you for calling me out on my bullshit. But I don't even know how we got here. What were we talking about?
We were talking about how this film is boring.
Well, all right. Well, hold on. So it starts off with the them trying to add history to Alice, which
Which
was
the way that the outside world is presented in this movie feels more outside of the realm of reality than
Yeah.
the Wonderland.
It felt so cartoony and not fun cartoony,
Which is
but
like,
over the top.
I get what they were trying to do. It's like, oh, here's this person, but in the real world with like Tweedledee and Tweedledum being the twin sisters.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that. But it just did not translate well because it still had that dark color grade.
Yes, but I think the dark color grade is to reflect is when they start doing the more color is in Wonderland, kind of a Wizard of Oz black and white to color type thing.
But there
It's
still
tough.
wasn't even any
Yes.
much color in Wonderland.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up with. As we switch to Wonderland, you get reds and yellows and blues and greens or whatever, but they are darker shades of those colors. And so they stick out, but they aren't the wondrous land that we want when you think live action Alice in Wonderland. And you get there's like a flashback in the middle of the movie where you get the slightest hint of it. And it's like, I wish we got to see more of that. Because this isn't Alice. Like, if you told me you were doing, I don't know, Lion King, but it's going to be 500 years in the future. All their land has been built over with metropolis urban cities.
Then it would become Wonderland in this movie?
No, I'm just saying, like, you replace the main setting of the film you're basing it off of.
Yeah.
And it's not what you want. And the characters are connected now in a way they weren't in the original.
So the thing that gets me about that quote you just gave about Tim Burton,
yes,
is that I get the sense that he didn't understand why the story connected with people.
Let's also point out he didn't write this one.
That's fair, but like color grading, that stuff, that's his decision at the end of the day.
Yes. I also wonder if we talked about Avatar having darker CGI moments. Is there a possibility part of that is the technology at the moment?
I would have preferred if they tried and failed, honestly.
Sure. I don't think Disney would have preferred that, but no, I think I agree as well.
Because like the Cheshire Cat, who was really fun and like fanciful colors in the original, it looks so boring here.
I liked him more than some of the other characters in this film. So let's go into the characters now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting, knowing what I know about the future live action remakes, that the character designs for the animals felt more cartoony. When nowadays they're going for the realistic animals. You look at your Lion Kings. In Aladdin, Iago's like this evil-looking phoenix, not Gilbert Gottfried anymore. And there's still that essence of the Disney animation CGI to these designs, which I enjoyed. It never blended 100% when you see them next to a live action person,
Mhm.
but I liked these character designs more than say Beauty and the Beast, where I still don't know where Cogsworth and Lumiere's faces are.
So I didn't see those movies.
Okay.
I saw this one.
Okay. Did you like the design? You didn't like the designs of these?
Again, it's the whole idea that like these reboots are live action and like this is supposed to be the respectable version of these stories. Which
I don't
just
think
like
that's respectable is the word.
it feels like they're trying to make these stories more grown up, at least.
Sure, sure.
So like
But
this isn't your
if
kids'
you,
Alice in Wonderland.
but don't you, when it was, I don't know how often you've gone back to some of the older classic Disney movies, but I'll watch them. I'm like, oh, these are very fairy tale-y. It's very simple. There's not much dimension to Belle and Beauty and the Beast or
But the thing is,
Ariel
I don't
or.
think there needs to be.
You're right. You're right.
And like that's where
Mhm.
these movies get tripped up as well. But
Would we
I'm also
judge?
talking about a lot of movies I haven't seen.
Would we judge a live action movie if their characters are that simple though?
I don't think so.
You don't think
I
so?
didn't judge Avatar for that very reason.
Oh,
You
I
did.
did. I did. So I don't know if that's how you change this. Um I
Uh,
do think although I didn't like that it was such a dark palette compared to the animated film, there were moments where it looked gorgeous and the designs of the sets and all the stuff. There was a moment where it's Alice next to the Queen as Mad Hatter walks into the court, I guess, and it's just kind of with them and the background behind it look gorgeous.
I'll be honest. When I think about this movie that I literally rewatched today,
Hmm.
the only landscape I remember is just gloomy skies.
Did you never? I liked the look of the battleground. I don't think it fit the film, but I liked the look of it. I think this film.
So it felt so. Going back to the thing you brought up earlier, it felt like one the chess aesthetic didn't make sense.
That was just totally random.
And then the broken buildings reminded me a lot of the Lord of the Rings. That broken building at the top of the hill where like Gandalf was fighting off all those fuck, what were they called?
This is the final one, right? The final Lord of the Rings.
No. It was in like 1 or 2.
When the eagle comes to pick him up,
Yes.
that's one, I believe.
Yeah. Where like all the people in the black hood.
I would.
Whatever.
I don't know. Anyways,
But yeah, that it reminded me a lot of Lord of the Rings on top of a chessboard
Yeah.
for some reason.
but I think
Which
this film had a lot of good elements that just didn't mesh well.
again feels like Tim Burton's whole thing.
I can't speak to that, but you have this strong feeling about it. I see.
Yeah, it feels
So I
so.
liked it. I do want to mention nominated for 3 Oscars. It lost visual effects. The team being Ken Ralston, David Schaub, Carrie Villig.
What did it
and
lose
Sean
to?
Phillips. 2010 would have been Inception, which you're not gonna fight with those. It did win Best Art Direction, Robert Stromberg and Karen O'Hara, and Best Costume Design for Colleen Atwood. I did want to bring those up.
So, speaking of the chess thing, I think that ties into why it was the red and white queen. Maybe.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it makes a little bit more sense, but like
Wait, I've never played a game of chess where you have the red and the white pieces. It's always
well,
been
the
black and
idea is
white.
it's white and colored.
That's stretching it.
No, because it's like either black or wood, usually.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
like it's whatever other color.
But the animated film has cards that are red and black. Because
Yeah,
those are how
that's
cards
the
work.
thing that pissed me off.
I just
It
I
should
just
have
realized
been
that
the
right now.
red queen and the black queen.
Yeah,
But no, we
occurred to me
needed
right now.
all the whitest of the white people here.
I also don't
We
understand
needed
where her
Queen
sister came.
Latifah to have Anne Hathaway's role.
That would have been fun. I also don't understand where Anne Hathaway's character comes from if this is following the original. Which I actually didn't mind. I had fun with Anne Hathaway's hippie queen, but
Like aesthetically, her character doesn't make sense that she should exist.
no. But so much of it. Hey, nothing's impossible if
No.
something.
Honestly, that's the one thing that irked me the most for some reason. The fact that like the cards were red. So it's like, oh, they're going off of like the faces, like, you know, there's there's like the faces that are red and the faces that are black. But it's like, no, red and white. That irked me.
Was there ever an explanation to
No, it's just white
either of them
good.
in general? Not even the colors. Like any of them. We never got the history of them.
Red of hearts.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't need a large backstory. It just needs that connection.
Okay.
But like, white. Why is it white? Because white is good. I think that's what it amounts to.
That probably is the closest, especially with all the dark landscapes. That's the contrast to that.
Which I mean, there's implications to that are
Yeah,
murky.
There are.
Which also does not make me more inclined to like this movie.
No. Again, neither of us liked this movie. I thought Helena Bonham Carter was the best part of this movie. I thought she knew the movie she was in. Really?
The way she kept saying off with her head, I was like, you know what? I get it. All right. You don't need to keep beating this dead horse. I get it. You want to kill the horse. Just do it already.
It's because she's a child. She has one thing she can do.
It's so, you know, there's.
Hold on.
Okay,
are you telling me if a leader
let me
in power...
Let me explain this. So the creator of SpongeBob,
Steven Hillenburg,
he said that he wanted the opening song to be something that's so like in your face and obnoxious that it would like aggravate adults.
Okay.
That's what her performance felt like, and it made me feel like I was 80-year-old. I was an
child.
80-year-old being like, turn that shit off.
She is a child in this position. It reminded me of the more fun parts of Olivia Colman in The Favorite.
So the thing is,
Selena Meyer in Veep.
The thing is, this is where the simplicity of the script also ruins it for me, because it's so repetitive, and like, it's not fun for me. It's not. I just can't enjoy it. I felt like I was almost getting a headache from it.
I thought she was the only person who knew she was in a remake of a cartoon and was going for that energy and that vibe.
See, I feel like that might be part of the reason why it soured on her performance, especially felt sour for me, even though she was doing her job in terms of knowing the film she was in. Literally everything else involved with it didn't. So
it clashes. But she was my personal favorite part of the film. Johnny Depp was in the movie. I don't feel strongly.
It gets into my Johnny Depp hatred.
How did we skip this last episode? Last Pirates. You go on.
Because like in the Pirates, they found a way to make it work for the movie. In this one, it's a lot. So my problem with Johnny Depp is that he isn't an actor who is generous in terms of acting with them. When you're acting with Johnny Depp, you're being acted at. That's how it feels when I watch those scenes with Johnny Depp.
I disagree from the Depp stuff I've seen, but go on.
But like in this movie as well, which again, there is a bit of masking going on in terms of the majority of the movie feels this way.
Hmm.
because it's like most people are telling you need to go here or do this thing. Still, like that is still what's driving the plot along.
The MacGuffins, the quests you have to do to move along.
Yeah, in terms of like destiny and like you have to do this, go here, do that, and stuff like that.
Is it destiny? Because they're like, hey, you have to choose and want to do this.
Yeah, but the idea is that the oracle like scroll deigned it to be.
But and that's just another problem I had with this movie is just like the whole time she's like, oh, am I Alice? Am I not Alice? Is this a dream? Is this not a dream? It was so wishy-washy with everything, and there was no real build to anything. But I think it's supposed to say she chose to fight at the end.
Sure, but again, it's okay. Now we're getting into a philosophical topic of free will.
I guess you're right. You're right. We can cite
Where
stuff. You're
it's
talking about
like
Johnny Depp.
it could be argued that like, oh, the scroll, like, yeah, she had the free will to do that herself, but the oracle knew that she would decide to do it.
But
And again, that idea felt more like a formality when it came up in the movie. Even when like Anne Hathaway's character, the White Queen, was like, you know, you don't have to do it. You could decide not to. It felt more like, you know, I'm not gonna say you should do it, but you should.
but is not the film's thesis, if you will, the scene with her and Alan Rickman's caterpillar as he's going into the cocoon, and he's basically saying, "Hey, sometimes we need to change, and change is good."
Is that the point of the movie?
I
I
think
don't
so.
know.
I think so because she comes back, and that's the one thing that makes her different from the beginning. She was hesitant because she was following all the norms, and then she's like, "No, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna stop these norms."
You know what? I want to talk about the White Queen also for a second.
Go on. We were in the middle of Johnny Depp, so when you want to get back to Johnny Depp, we can go back there.
I mean, I feel like I said the majority of my points in terms of that, but
And as my rebuttal, I think he makes very large choices. Whether it works in the film is a different is a different call. But he goes for it with each character I've seen him do, and I've enjoyed his work. Go on. Anne Hathaway's White Queen.
so she says at one point, it is against my vow to harm any living creature. Which, as a child, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's why she's not doing it herself.
Why did she make a vow?
That's one. Two, that doesn't mean much when you're literally telling someone else to go do it for you.
Yeah. Yep, you're right. You're right. Again, if it's not obvious, neither of us really liked this movie.
And now another thing about the themes that I want to talk about, the Vorpal sword and its treatment in this film. There is a point where I think, I don't remember which character says it, but they say the Vorpal sword knows what it wants. Just hold it and it'll do its thing.
I think that was Mad Hatter when she was like, "I'm gonna fight with the sword," and he was like, "No, you shouldn't fight with the sword. You're not supposed to."
And then the Jabberwocky, when it shows up, is like, "Ah, once again I meet my nemesis." And then Alice is like, says whatever, and then Jabberwocky's like, "Not you, the sword."
Wait, so I'm still confused. So did she fight him in the first time she went to Wonderland?
No. The Jabberwocky does not care about Alice at all. It's literally the sword is the nemesis.
That's so dumb.
Which means is Alice the tool?
Maybe. Why did they need challengers when they had the entire armies fighting? Wait.
But like, is Alice the tool? Or if so, like, I'm so confused in regards to that, because that is an interesting, like, philosophical idea that could have been delved into. in terms of these destinies are decided by these objects, and that's why the destiny is set in stone, because objects don't make decisions. And like by putting all this weight on those objects, it's just about how you interact with it that creates that grander message.
Hmm.
Which means it's not you who's important. It's the sword.
Can you tell I'm trying to wrap my head around what you just said?
Again, it's a very interesting and deep idea that this movie is definitely not equipped to explore well,
No.
but it's the only thing I could really glomp onto in terms of an idea worth delving into.
No. I don't think it's trying to question that at all.
It's not. I don't think it's
I think
intentional.
I think they
but like
wanted
that's
a cool.
an interesting idea that I had from watching this.
I think they wanted the dragon to have a cool line.
No,
Is
no,
it
like
cool? I don't know, but
that might have been the point. But like, this is where my mind went to while I was watching this movie to
Sure.
try to get something out of it.
when you're not caring about the thing in front of you, your mind wanders to so many places.
But I feel like this is also an interesting idea that could be fleshed out. Who knows? Maybe I'll write a story about it.
Maybe it's delved into an Alice Through the Looking Glass, which
I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that.
I
I don't
think-
need to watch that. I'm not watching that.
I think notable first for this the podcast. This is the first film whose sequel complete and total flop.
Really?
So let me pull it up right here. Alice in Wonderland made, I think it was 334 million domestically. Alice Through the Looking Glass made 299.5 million worldwide.
So how much of that do you think is tied to how long they waited between movies?
I think very much so. Because obviously neither of us like this movie. I think the general consensus is that it's not very popular. I was reading something that at the time it had 50% Rotten Tomatoes, which take as you will. That means half the people liked it, half the people didn't like it. If you look, this made $1 billion. The next one they do is Maleficent in 2014, made about 700 million. Jungle Book made about 900 million, and you don't hit $1 billion again with these live action movies till Beauty and the Beast. And even in between, then you have stuff like Pete's Dragon. So I think the quality of this film really struck everything after. I think this film made $1 billion because it was the first big spectacle CGI after Avatar in 3D, and everyone was excited about that.
I could see that.
And it is a spectacle. Does it hold up? I don't think either of us believes it holds up, but all the colors, all the fantastic sights, the transformations. Again, I don't think it holds up.
Again,
but you can see how something like that
like
will grab an audience.
If I was my age, looking at that trailer as it initially came out, I don't know if I would have been drawn in, because again, you say there's a lot of colors, but it's still so drab.
But again, you said you saw it in theaters in 3D
when I was 12,
and you liked it, and you liked
when I
it.
was, again, that's why I'm saying me now going back.
Yes.
Obviously 12-year-olds aren't what drove this to $1 billion.
No. But there was also the magic of, hey, this Disney movie I'm seeing is live action. We haven't seen this since Glenn Close did Cruella de Vil. Like there was a lot that you could sell your average Joe on for this movie.
I guess.
Especially 3 months after Avatar, no big blockbuster in between. So there's enough time that people are ready to watch another movie. Yeah.
Let me see what other notes I had in regards to this.
What the heck was with the Johnny Depp's Scottish accent? When he wanted to be
let's
serious?
get back to Johnny Depp.
What the frick?
See, that's the thing. It felt like a lot of just affectations upon affectations. That's what he does.
This film Because I feel like everyone says he's always Jack Sparrow after Jack Sparrow. I don't think this is anything like Jack Sparrow, except that it is eccentric.
It's a lot
It
softer,
does, yes.
but also it again feels like
At times it feels eccentric for the sake of being eccentric because he's called the Mad Hatter.
I'm trying to remember what the specific like acting dichotomy was, where it was like presentational versus representational acting, something like that.
I'm not sure where
Does
you're
that
going
ring a
with this.
bell?
I'm not sure where you're going with this.
Damn it, I don't remember the specifics of that enough to delve into. But the idea is that like he's like, I am this character, this is who I am, and like, yes, you'll say your line, but that does not impact the way I say mine at all. It
Just
really
says
felt
this.
that way.
That's tough to say on a movie when you could be doing your take and your scene partner could just be a random person saying the line, a line reader, and not the other actor. That's tough to say when there's different takes and you pick the right take. I think
But
that
then again,
you could question
I
that more
feel
on
like
theater than
no, but like that also it happens so much more with Johnny Depp than any other actor I've seen in movies.
Again, I think he just makes these giant choices. And then when you get someone like Mia's performance is so nothing in this movie, it overpowers it when most of the human scenes are the two of them. And can we take a moment to talk about the weird intimacy between the two characters? Why did she
No.
grab his face? She cupped his face with both her hands and told him about the weird impossible thingy. And at the end, there's this intimacy between them too. And I'm like, well, they're gonna get, I don't want this. What's going on?
So I didn't take it in a romantic sense.
I didn't either, but I was afraid it was about to.
It really read like more like she was passing down the advice her father gave to her in a very similar manner.
Sure. It just seemed like such a big jump for her to grab her cup his face like this. They're basically strangers. She doesn't know him. He may know her. She doesn't know him.
I mean, that's another thing that's intentions are murky in terms of what was meant to be
I have a question for you.
brought across. Yes.
So it's a stipulation. I think that's the word I'm looking for. I know it's stupid. This film was nominated at the Golden Globes for Best Actor Musical Comedy and Best Motion Picture Musical Comedy. Did you ever laugh during this movie? I think I chuckled like once at something Helena Bonham Carter said.
No,
This isn't a fun movie at all.
it is not.
And I thought the first like 2/3 I was like, okay, it's kind of bland, but I don't hate it. And then the final act where it tries to be an action movie just pissed me off. I was like, nope. No
But
way.
you know what I find funny?
Go on.
This is the first movie that was targeted at kids with a dance sequence at the end.
I hated it. I hated that. I've added musical moments to some of our films in the past. I hated it. They build it up by mentioning it like 3 times throughout the movie. It's literally like 30 seconds after the battle ends. He does it. It feels like it goes on forever. And then she does it in the real world.
Masinson, it's like, you know how football players, they do their end zone dance once they like get that touchdown as like a victory. That's what Johnny Depp was doing.
That was just
That's what the Mad Hatter was doing.
That's such a weird, out of place idea. And when she does it at the end, that was when I'm like, yeah, this movie is a piece of shit.
Speaking of that, that's the thing. What that makes me think, no, she did actually make decisions before, because she chose not to wear like the tights and like the prissy shoes and all that. She made that decision at the beginning of the movie.
But with other people, she didn't make decisions. She caught her brother-in-law cheating on her sister, and she was hesitant to say
And
anything about
technically,
it.
she didn't make a decision on
No,
that in
she
the end either.
No, she let him. She just warned him to not do it again. She chose to not tell her sister, which,
But in a sense, that's just pushing the buck off later.
yeah,
That is non-action.
yeah. Well, she turns down the dude. Which pissed me off. She went to the aunt. It was like, let go of your delusions. When she just spent like 3 nights in Wonderland.
See, that's the other thing. Was it 3 nights in the real world? I thought it was like
Well, no, I think
an
it was 3
hour
nights
later.
I think it was like 3 nights in Wonderland, right away back in the real world. But she was in Wonderland because she comes back with the scars on her arm, which no one asks her about.
No, they were like, "Oh, geez, what happened to you?" And then she's like, "I bumped my head
No,
in a hole."
but you don't see her scars when she first comes out of the hole. When she's talking to the dude later in his office, she has short sleeves, and you see the scars. And there's no question of it. It's just there to prove that it actually happened.
I'll be honest, I didn't even notice the scars.
That's fine. That's fine. It was a dumb thing to happen in the movie.
Going back to Mia, I saw her in that movie Stoker. I don't
Which
remember
one's Stoker?
that. I remember enjoying it. I don't remember the movie at all.
I don't even know who else is in it.
Now I'm gonna pull that up. Riff for a bit.
As I look through my notes, I thought Mia felt like Ivana Lynch's Luna Lovegood without the fun parts. About
Nicole Kidman.
Which one's Stoker? What year is that?
2013.
Okay. I was following films during that. That's how. Huh. I didn't like the Tweedledee Tweedledum designs.
Again, it comes down to it feels like the most basic versions of all these characters.
But logistically, I felt like I could see where their face ended and the CGI began, and that just disturbed me. I did like Helena's larger head. That somehow never bothered me.
I mean, I feel like that was the one design decision I liked. That's it.
Yeah.
I liked the different dresses she wore.
Sure. Again, costumes were nice. Academy Award winning.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with those. I liked when Anne Hathaway's like making a cure or something for her when she first comes to her castle, and she's like, "I'm gonna put a little urine in it." Like, that's a fun way of saying urine.
Again, going back to the whole costume design thing,
Hmm.
it really felt like half this movie was just a big game of dress up, and like that's one of the few aspects I liked.
What do you mean game of dress up?
Where it's just like, oh, we're done with that like costume, we're done with that piece, now let's move on to the next one, and like let's flaunt around in a little bit.
It did bother me that when she changed sizes, her clothes didn't. That's how you decided. That's how you decided to realistically do this movie. Did it?
Like some,
I guess.
like,
yeah.
At the beginning, there was like a smaller version of her dress within the dress.
Yeah, and then when she becomes she's bigger. They get her bigger clothes, and then when she comes back to normal, there's no clothes change, right?
I think there is. Oh wait, no. At the first point there isn't, but then when she goes into the White Queen's thing, there's a clothes change
another one
there.
Okay.
Yes.
I also just hated that fight. I feel like I've mentioned it a bunch of times.
All right. Now talking about designs that I did not like. Let's talk about the cards for a second. I hate that the cards.
Okay.
They weren't cards. They didn't act like cards. They didn't function like cards. I didn't like it.
They were metal soldiers. I actually didn't mind the design, but it felt pointless to have the card design if you're not going to use that in any way. Except in the moment in the battle where they like knock down one, it'll knock down a stack, and there's a house of cards that just fall.
Again, the way those cards functioned in that moment, they weren't bending like cards. They weren't. That's what got me as well.
Yeah.
They didn't function like cards.
No. But they look cool, right?
No.
No. Can we just talk? I really just want to talk about how bad that final fight sequence was. It was unexciting. She like dramatically counts down to her final blow by counting all the impossible things, and it doesn't even feel heroic when she gets down to 6. It cuts to just boring, bland kind of action. I don't understand how the Mad Hatter can kind of fight. Like that just doesn't make sense for the character or for any of those animals fighting in that
So
scene.
in terms of the whole number counting not having any meaning, obviously it's a tie back to the whole idea that you can think of 6 impossible things before breakfast. But the thing is, this film has so many repetitive like lines or ideas that they all lose meaning.
Yeah, I don't think it loses meaning. I think in the moment it loses it. I don't think it doesn't have meaning. It loses it in the moment.
No,
Again,
I feel like
the
if there weren't that many repetitive ideas, it would have had a lot more power.
Are you so are you saying, are they repeating that specific moment too much, or there's different
there's a
themes
lot
and
of
ideas
things
there?
that they keep repeating,
Such as
the off with her head.
that's just a line.
No.
That's a catchphrase.
I get that, but like there was the thing where it's like all the best people are insane or whatever. There's that one.
But that's connected to that the 6.
Again, I'm saying they are connected, but like because there's so many of them that have already gotten their resolution, this one feels like an extra one that's just there.
I see what you're saying. I think they're the same thing, but I do see what you're saying.
Again, they are the same thing.
It's
the fact that one of them happened first, that one already had the meaning. You can't do it again with a different one and have the exact same impact.
Okay. I think I get what you know. I think I'm gonna get it now. And if I don't want us to hammer in this one point for 5 minutes, because we will. We will. I'll.
Yeah, much like the movie itself.
Yeah, what a disappointing movie. I wanted to like it. I did. I always.
I mean,
like
I
movies.
would love to see a live action Alice in Wonderland that is bright and vibrant and like just lets. Basically, I want to see Alice in Wonderland by way of Oz the Great and Powerful. I liked that movie.
Hold up. When was the last time you watched that movie? When it came out?
Yeah.
Because I saw it when it came out and I liked it too. That was a dark movie. That was not a bright movie.
Okay, maybe not then.
That was completely in line with this movie.
Okay. And what's another example?
There is, because again, and I didn't realize this either, all the Disney live action remakes are darker interpretations of the original movie. Darker, more mature. Because I think I said, anyways.
You earlier were like, there's a distinction between the two.
There are more mature versions, but like, to spoil Beauty and the Beast, do you mind if I do this?
Sure.
There's a moment where they talk about Belle's mom, who died of the plague. No, it's the Beast's mom. Beast's mom dies of the plague or something. And so there's a flashback and a song to explain why the Beast is sad. And
were there songs in this one?
No.
I mean, there was the dance sequence.
Well, hold on. It's not even a sequence, like 5 minutes. No, it's like 20 seconds.
And then there's the song at the end of the movie,
which is the end credits song, which was so off-putting. I think it's
you didn't feel empowered.
It's just I didn't need I think Avril Lavigne pop punk ballad to uplift me.
See, the thing is, while I was listening to that song, that like tune at the beginning, it was so memorable, but I don't remember what song it was.
What do you mean at the beginning? At the beginning of the movie or the end credits?
At the beginning of the end credits song.
Yeah, I think it's an Avril Lavigne song.
No, I'm saying that tune is familiar, not from this song.
Oh, they sampled something possibly.
No, I mean in terms of the way she sings the line.
Oh, it's very similar to something else you're saying.
Yes.
I see. Is it
And I
similar?
can't put my finger on which song it is.
Does the song go, life's like this? Chill out. What you yelling for? Lay back. It's all been done before.
Was it complicated?
No, it was not. It was not.
You know what? Let's move
We'll
on.
figure this out.
I'd
I'd
have to listen to it again to remember the.
There was something else I wanted to bring up, but I think that's it. I wish I enjoyed this movie more.
Again, it was one thing that was weird is just another line I'll bring up. The whole painting the roses red in the real world.
Well, that's the very beginning.
Yes.
And I hate the beginning. They kept mentioning the stuff from the animated movie. I'm like,
yes.
So is this a sequel? And they bring it back. I'm like, God damn this movie.
Honestly,
also,
I felt like they could have inversed the worlds and like that would have made a more interesting movie.
Why not?
Because honestly, the real world felt more fantastical than Wonderland.
Wait, so like the Smurfs, you put the characters in the real world?
See, the thing is, we have to acknowledge that the real world in this movie is not the real world.
No, it's not.
Whereas with the Smurfs, it was a lot more grounded.
Can I ask you
Okay, I think I put my finger on how this is like a children's interpretation of a period piece. That's the real world in this movie. Yes.
And I think you can argue it's trying to parody and satire snobby British culture, but it's like,
but it's
when the rest of the movie is so drab.
Yeah. But like again, that's why I wish the worlds were reversed, and like I would love to see that movie. Because again, that's the childlike ideas really coming forth.
Well, Braun, this seems like a change you might want to do to this movie.
Oh, I didn't actually even think about that.
because
this naturally came
as we've established, we're 6 weeks in. Lots of great films, Academy Award-winning films, billion-dollar grossing films, $2 billion grossing films. Very popular, very beloved. None of them perfect.
Some even more not perfect than others.
Yeah. Pink would not sing about these films. Pink would not say, "You're fucking perfect" to me.
Oh.
I think for some reason, since we mentioned Avril Lavigne, my brain somehow jumped to Pink. Anyways.
You know, I don't think we've cursed at all in this episode yet until that moment.
No, we
I
did.
feel like we did.
We did. Quota. You did like 5 minutes into it. I was like, I thought we were trying to avoid these.
Wait, what did I say?
I don't know. You said it and it threw me off.
Oh, okay. My bad.
It's fine. I list these as explicit in case.
Okay.
So we were saying, no film is perfect. Juan, say Timmy B was like, yeah, I can't direct this movie. And you're like, yes, Timmy B, I know you can't direct this movie. No offense to Bert. I respect you as a filmmaker.
Listen,
and you
I don't know who you are I don't know how you are as a person, Timmy B. I don't like your film sensibilities as a director. I'm sorry.
You're sorry. And you're like, hey, let me grab the director chair, sit in it, grab my megaphone, and shout some stuff in the air. And do a little changey to this film. Pawan, how would you change this film?
Okay. So the one path I would do that came up naturally in our discussion is just reversing the worlds. Having the children's version of old British royalty be the Wonderland and have Wonderland be the real world.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have more on that yet.
What was the one you planned on presenting today?
So The other one is just a bunch of little changes. Like
Okay. Okay.
instead of the white queen, make it the black queen. Get Queen Latifah in there. She'd have it would be fun.
I didn't know you gave away your changes earlier.
Yeah, I did for a good amount of them. Um, get add some levity and some fun into this movie, which is very sorely missing.
Mhm.
And also it would fit the card aesthetic better,
Mm-hmm.
so much better. And also fix the cards, fix your cards,
Yes. Yes. Cards always need big
fix your
fix.
cards. And also for the ending song,
Oh.
instead of that Avril Lavigne song, put in The Climb by Miley Cyrus.
Cyrus is The Climb, of course.
See, it aesthetically fits because to return to the real world, Alice has to climb out of the rabbit hole that she has dug herself in and like realize I am the Alice. I have to take care. I have to choose my destiny and go for these dreams that I'm dreaming. It is The Climb.
There's always gonna be another rabbit hole. I'm always gonna want to fall right through.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And you know what? I let's explore the Vorpal sword more.
Sure.
Let's do it. Like, you
Sure.
know what? You want to make the sword this entity that like has its own like volition and its own nemesis and like desires.
Mhm.
Give me more of its history. I want to know about it.
Is this a sequence in the film? Is it a
Yes.
prequel? Is it a prologue? Is it a spin-off?
Maybe the sword talks.
Wow.
And like it's like, Alice, I've chosen you as the only one who could wield me in this circumstance.
You know, Blonde, some may think a talking sword is impossible, but
That's one of my impossible thoughts for the day.
there you go. There you go.
And I think I rest my case.
Well done. Well done. That was some great adjustments to the film. I will make sure Timmy B gets those notes 10 years after the film comes out. Now, Pawan, you're going to hate me.
Go ahead.
I have to run to the bathroom right now. Can you vamp? Thank you.
All right,
Goodbye.
let's see what I could talk about with these ideas that I brought
Way back.
up. All right, let's talk about this Vorpal sword for a bit. I want to explore this idea a little bit deeper of the sword having its own agency and being its own entity. So it would be interesting if in the movie, when they're like, oh, Alice is the one holding the sword during that final moment in the image on the scroll, it would be interesting if like maybe on the scroll the sword is like slightly out of her hand, and in the final moment it turns out the sword is escaping Alice's grips because she hasn't come to terms with her. She's gone with the White Queen in terms of, I don't want to kill anything. And like she had that at the beginning, which it's weird that it's okay for the White Queen to do that but not Alice, but I digress. It would be interesting if the Vorpal sword was like, I've had it. You know what? This Jabberwocky has been running shit for too long. It acts like it's the only thing that to have its own volition in this nemesis. This ain't one-sided. All right. I'm gonna do it myself. And the sword just escapes out of her hand and then just chops off his head by itself. That would be interesting in terms of these items, because like in the end, the reason why the Red Queen loses is because her army of cards have decided to abandon her. The cards which she used as a tool, much like the sword itself. So like we could tie that into that as well.
Great point. Well
I
done.
was just expanding on my idea as tools as the real masters of this universe.
I see. Sounds like a great idea. I'm excited to hear more about this later on. All right, so are you ready for how I would fix the film?
Go ahead.
All right, Timmy, listen to me. So one of my big problems with this film is the final act. I hated the battle sequence. That was kind of random, didn't fit tonally. I don't like that she randomly knows how to fight now. That made no sense.
It's the armor.
So
again, the item deciding the fate.
Here's what I'm thinking. Start off. You know the scene where it's like her, Alice and the Hatter on the balcony at night talking?
Mhm.
I think there needs to be a training sequence. So they discuss. She's like, I'm not ready. She's like, and then he's like, no, I'll make you ready. Training sequence, montage, go on. Right? Later on, jump to the battle sequence, right? So the Red Queen is like, and so my Jabberwocky. Zzz. What? And so it's the weird kind
of course.
it's the weird kind of go through the forest, and you're like, what's going on? And then kind of like how the Cheshire Cat will just appear out of nowhere. You see a white mask.
It's
Then
the
the white
dance
mask.
troupe. Yeah.
Yes, it's the 5 or 6 Jabberwockies are there, and they come down to fight because what? It's a dance battle.
Oh my god. Yeah, see,
The
that's the
final
other thing I
sequence
was gonna
is a
say.
dance battle,
That's the thing I
and-
forgot.
and he was training her not to fight with a sword, but rather to do the footer whacking. And so they do the footer whacking together, thus defeating the Jabberwockies and winning the battle in a dance battle. Adding some more whimsy. Now it's part musical to win the Golden Globe that it lost. And it's not a terrible Lord of the Rings ripoff.
I'll be honest. I love that idea. And while
Thank
I
you.
was watching this movie, I was like, you know what? It has the dance sequence at the end, but
Ah.
that's not how they solve the problems.
It's not.
Like that's the staple of like the great children's movies that are made these days. Like there's a dance sequence at the end of the movie that solves the problems.
Yes, it's a staple of my favorite children movie endings. Alice in Wonderland is not one of them. Do you know what
Hotel
is?
Transylvania 3.
Hotel Transylvania 3. This is the end. Jojo Rabbit. Those are kid movies, right? They end with dancing.
Wait, what's another one?
I can't think of kids movies that ends with dancing. I know you're right. Despicable Me?
Yes,
There you go.
one of them does. I don't know if it was necessarily the first one.
We will find out later on. Because we're going to watch 3 and Minions.
But yeah, I think we've established some great ways to fix this movie.
I think some great ways. And if you maybe leave a comment in our YouTube video, leave a review on your platform of streaming to tell us what your favorites are and how you would change the movie. Because everyone has ideas. Nothing's
Listen,
impossible.
This podcast is a conversation. We're just broaching the topic. You can continue it if you'd like.
Pawan, broaching, foppish. You're using some great words today. Well done.
So, we've discussed how we feel about the film. But we all know, in terms of film analysis, subjective feelings don't matter.
No, not at all.
It's all about the objective facts.
Yes, it is about that.
So now is the point in this podcast where we go to our objective ranking of all these movies.
Yes, it is. Let me do a little share of the screen. And here we go.
So,
Let's-
Miss Simpson,
Let's start off recapping the list. Why don't we?
at number 44, we have Avatar. 44
Sorry.
out of 47.
Sorry.
We
I'm
have
sorry.
Avatar.
Um,
Number 37,
Yeah.
we got Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Number 32, we got The Dark Knight. Number 19, we have Titanic. And number 3, we have Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Yep.
So, Miss Simpson,
yes, Pawan.
we both know, and for those that don't, I was rather upset at how much you seem to despise Avatar.
I wouldn't say despise.
No. I understand that it's the movie you think is the worst made film of all time. So I feel like it wouldn't be interesting if we judge the rest of these rankings based on how you feel about that movie right now. So
How are you hijacking this? Go on.
let's go in reverse order. Do you think this movie is better than Lord of the Rings, Return of the King?
No.
Do you think this movie is better than Titanic?
Wait, the first question, was it worse than Lord of the Rings?
Oh, right. Do you think this is worse than...
Yes, I think it's worse.
Okay. Do you think it's worse than Titanic?
Yes.
Do you think it's worse than The Dark Knight?
Yes.
Do you think it's worse than Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest?
Yes.
Okay, now we are working with the numbers 38 to 47.
That's not how this works, because I think it's
No,
worse than
now it
Avatar as
is.
well.
No, because we know
You can't
that you
just
think
skip.
Avatar.
You can't just skip. No, you cannot skip.
Listen,
a
this
film
is
on,
my
no.
time.
No, you asked to take over this week.
This is my time.
You can't bend the rules that have been established like this.
Listen, I'm doing this to make this list more interesting. If you want the peek behind the curtain,
It will
that's
be interesting.
what it is.
It will be interesting. Trust the science.
I feel like it's more interesting if we have the final 3 spots in play still.
It will be more interesting when movies we don't like are on top of Avatar.
Yeah, but I also like the idea of having the final 3 in play still. Maybe.
The top 3 are empty.
Yeah. Also, I'd like the top and bottom 3 in play.
Well, that's not how it worked.
Fine,
You
if
can't
you're
just
gonna
skip
be-
Avatar.
I mean, I had a system for how I was going to go around it, but whatever.
By just ignoring that Avatar is on the
Fine.
list already?
45 to 47. What between these 3 numbers is it going to be?
I'm sorry that we're following the math. It's not subjective. Subjective.
No. You've already
It's 46.
influenced it with your subjective opinions because you've ranked Avatar so low.
Sorry.
You can let me have this.
Because that's just not how the list works. You know I hate the Avatars this low. It pains me. It really does.
All right.
I appreciate you tried something,
No, you don't.
but we'll get your opinion next week. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's just how the list works. I'm curious how next week it's gonna work.
You're stoking some fires that I don't think you're gonna like.
I'm waiting for. I was waiting for when we start playing this strategically, and lie about our personal opinions. It's very easy to do.
I mean, we're reaching that point because listen, yes, this isn't our subjective opinions. This is our objective opinions. So it doesn't matter what I like. It matters what's important for this list.
Yes.
And you know what? Now I'm getting into that headspace, Miss Sinton. You created this monster. I
I'm
hope
scared.
you're happy about this.
I'm afraid of the numbers we're going to put into the number Rankatron 983 from now on. And it's a
just
scary
remember,
place.
you created this.
Yeah. So the ranking of Alice in Wonderland was number 46. To recap the list, Alice in Wonderland at 46. It pains me to say Avatar at 44. Number 37, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Number 32, The Dark Knight. Number 19, Titanic, which is my personal movie of the films we've seen. So personal favorite
Movie
of
of
the film. my personal movie, because I made all this.
It was the movie of the films.
This is my personal favorite. And you don't see me complaining that it's only 19. Well, your personal favorite
but
is number 3.
19 isn't 46.
Your personal favorite is number 3.
43.
Avatar's not even your personal favorite.
Listen, it's my second favorite of these movies so far.
Okay. And the science says it's the 5th worst one we've seen so far.
Yeah.
We don't believe that. Science believes that.
Yeah. And science is really going to wreak havoc on your favorites.
Am I going to cry on this podcast? We'll find out. Well, that was the ranking for this week. That lady.
Yeah, we
behind
ended
me,
on a
didn't
we're ending on a very foreboding tone.
Yeah. I didn't know we'd get this angry about science.
Listen,
But we did.
Science is disputable, and like that's the only way we could move it forward.
So thank you for listening to this week's episode of the $1 Billion Movie Club. I apologize if we've unsettled you with our passion, but we're passionate people. Join us next week on our discussion of Toy Story 3, another film on the Disney Plus streaming service. Shout out again, as usual, to Max Lysimachio, who did the art that you must have seen by now for this show. Any other shout outs you want to make, Pawan?
I think I'm good.
Let's give a shout out to let's go with Willem
Let's
Dafoe.
shout out the listeners.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Every single one of you.
Was there sarcasm in that?
No, there is not.
Okay.
I'm just being very direct about these statements.
I see.
Because, listen, without you, this discussion would die here. And that's not what this is for.
I feel like you're still mad at me.
Maybe.
I see. Shout out to Letitia Wright. That's her name, right? From Black Panther. Why not? She cool. Emmy Award nominee.
Okay, so let's actually wrap this up. Is there anything you'd like to say, Miss Simpson?
I think that's just about it. Thank you for joining us, and join us next week for Toy Story 3. Off with her head! Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can see me try to figure out how to say this motherfucker's name.
My name is Mia
Vasikowska.
Vashikovska.
Mia Vasikowska. Mia Vasikowska. Mia Vasikowska. Mia Vasikowska. Vasikowska. Mia Vasikowska. Mia Vasikowska. Mia Vasikowska. Mia Vasikowska. Mia Vasikowska. Mia Vasikowska. 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 Mia Vasikowska. Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia Vasikowska. Here we go again. Mia Vasikowska. Oh, I fucked it up. Mamma Mia Vasikowska. Mamma Mia Vasikowska. Mia Vasikowska. No, I need one more syllable. Mamma Mia Vasikowska. Here we go now. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I just want to look and I can hear the bell ring. Do 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 do. Whoa whoa, Mamma Mia, here I go again, Mama. Muted myself, Mamma Mia. I will go again, Mama. How can I resist? Yeah, I've been broken hearted. Since the day we started, Mama. Mamma Mia, here we go again, Mama. Did I ever let you go?